Alrighty, let's see how many people get upset with just the title alone. Well, let's get the show on the road. Which one? So, Vi had the distinction of being one of the only two champions who did not get picked or banned in Worlds this year. So, I wanted to talk about it because the Reddit thread talking about this situation was a lot of people were very misinformed and it was very confusing because a lot of it I felt was people who weren't here when she was barely released. Someone saying, Vi was super balanced when she was released. She's a very well designed champion, and that's complete bullshit. She was never a well designed champion. She was a really weird, ambitious project in an attempt to fix top lane. Because we're going to have to use a little bit of history to explain, well, what happened with Vi and why she is where she is and why she's just bad. Or she'll never be fixed. Because you could still theoretically carry with her and dominate with her. But at this point, there's no reason to ever actually pick her. So let's go with her inception. Essentially, at the time she was born as a champion, top lane was basically a super island mode. If you think top lane right now is kind of boring, back then it was basically, hey bro, let me farm. Don't worry bro, I'll just go to your back line and you can go to mine. Essentially, you ignored each other. So Riot had this idea of creating a champion that could all in somebody really easily, really well. Because at most there was like, Riven and I guess even old Aurelia. But they had the whole thing where you could see them coming at you and you just kind of walk away and they would take more damage from your minions or from your escape than they could possibly have done in that weird approach. So it just sort of defeats the purpose of trying. So you just kind of farmed in an island. Vi, on the other hand, guaranteed, supposedly, an engagement. Click your ultimate, force the fight, make it so they have to fight back before you reach that point, or whatever, something like that. But it turns out it didn't work because even though she could push with her E, she could do quite a bit of damage actually. Essentially, her Q is pretty damn worthless because it's extremely predictable if you see them do it. Vi's Q is kind of only really good as a surprise mechanism because oh crap, you're already having it charged up and they're already in a bad angle. You punch them and do a lot of damage. That's kind of the only times it really works. But from where they can see it, they just kind of react to it appropriately and you just don't do anything. And you might actually put yourself in a really bad situation. Her W doesn't do anything. I know that it has this 3-hit component, but that's really weak now. Like a lot of champions have that just as their passive or as an add-on to another ability. So her W could stand to be updated to do something else. Maybe add another, auto reset. That'd be pretty cool. Her E is pretty standard, but the whole charges thing is a little bit antiquated at this point, and honestly kind of a crutch, or handicap. And her passive is just kind of ignorable. You could forget that it's even there most of the time. Her main crux is her ultimate. Her ultimate is disgustingly powerful. Probably one of the most powerful in the entire game, and more so to a champion that has a lot of damage. So, one of the funny things that I always complained about is that Vi came out with this ultimate, and I know she sucked in the lane, but she could easily jungle because of how much damage and AoE she had. It just annihilated the camps. She had this ultimate that just pretty much guaranteed you would grab somebody and set them up to be damaged and hopefully killed. And yet they nerfed Skarner at the same point because he could do that easily at least at that time. I mean, he can still kind of do it, but he's been definitely weakened from how he was before. So that was pretty upsetting. But anyways, essentially Vi has gone through some periods where she was extremely powerful and she could destroy people in like one combo blow. And that's kind of the thing that a lot of people kind of forget. Vi is only really ever good when she's a bit overtuned, when she can just kind of kill somebody. Sort of like here. I'm definitely super fed, but the times where she was really strong, she could really do that. She could easily do that without really being fed. When, items made it very easy just to reach this really strong power spike, she could just murder people. The thing is that her abilities just kind of suck. So if she's on the average kind of level, she's kind of outdone by a bunch of other champions. A line that used to be said that's really, really always bothered me was, Vi is a better Jarvan, and this is complete bullshit. It's like, sure, there was times when Vi was a better pick than Jarvan, but that's kind of because she was overtuned. In just a general kid power, Jarvan beats her. And then speaking of kid power, Riot decided to release a champion that's just kind of Vi 2.0, Camille. It's like Camille literally does what Vi wants to do in a much more easier, efficient, and deadlier way. So, well, Camille has the whole thing where all of the buttons she presses are actual abilities. So she's got at least one thing over Vi because her Vi's W doesn't do anything. She has an actual passive that doesn't really suck. Her ultimate traps people and sort of uses this kind of weird soft CC on them and sets them up for just being annihilated. Sure, Vi does that too, but she has to kind of revolve around that one cooldown. Camille, on the other hand, has that little weird rope Toph thing, sorry, from Avatar, where she can just do that whenever that's off cooldown on a basic ability. So combining that, or just that alone, kind of does the same thing that Vi's ultimate does. And then combine that with her ultimate and then the true damage and then all the other crap that she has it. She's pretty much as Vi, but better. She's this is it's the woman your girlfriend warned you about, or well, even hell, even if it's lesbians, it's pretty accurate, right? But whatever, it failed me. But yeah, so right now Vi has the whole distinction of if she's on equal terms in terms like balance, where she's just quote unquote fair numbers, she sucks. And even if she was good, she's got another champion that does the same thing she wants but better now. So she's kind of in a really, really sorry spot. She was never well designed because that's just extremely not healthy. What can you do except some like buggy interactions, Zanya's, or some really weird abilities that some champions have, then to escape Vi's ultimate? If it's not enough to kill you in one rotation combo, yeah, everything would just you just dash away and then kill her, or some other teammate busts you out of it and helps you. But if it's unequal, if it's enough to just blow you up in one combo rotation, there's not much you can do against it, barring those weird interactions I sort of alluded to. Or having a Tahm Kench, because if there's a Tahm Kench, you just might as well cry if you're trying to play Vi. But yeah, essentially it's short and simple. There's nothing too complicated. Vi just sucks because she was dead on arrival in terms of power budget, too strong of an ultimate, really really weak basic abilities, with one ability being basically non-existent. Yes, it applies to passive, but it doesn't really do anything beyond that, so it kind of sucks. It was kind of outdated from the get-go. For just being overshadowed by other champions, Jarvan being just kind of better, and then Camille just being a better version of her. They both do the same things that Vi want to do, but Jarvan does it in a different flavor, and that flavor is a way, way stronger. And then Camille just does the same thing, but just, better. It's like paying for Starbucks coffee versus home brewed from the Himalayan mountains coffee kind of thing. Organic, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to make fun of hipsters. So yeah. And a lot of you I know will be defensive because you can carry with her, I dominate with her, I'm a one-trick. And yes, that's the thing. That Vi is a champion that can carry because she deals damage. She can assassinate and she can snowball like I kind of did in this game. Backing up Katarina and her snowball. But a lot of champions can do that too. And it's one of those cases of, sure, as Vi, you dominated and did everything like that. But maybe you would have done even more disgustingly better as the other choices. And in fact, you wouldn't have to worry about, some very strict counters, or, if you don't snowball, you just kind of don't do very much. That's kind of the thing with Vi. Because, at least Jarvan and Camille have a bit more recovery power and such. But Vi is kind of like a feast or famine. And even with a feast or famine, having the same kind of feast with those other champions would be even more disgusting. I only really liked her during one period of time, and I do enjoy playing her every now and then because I love that whole combo bursting people, like I showed in that case of just annihilating Evelynn. I like that kind of stuff. And Camille, she doesn't really appeal to me, but I do recognize that I am kind of at a handicap when I play Vi, especially in this form. And when she's super super strong and super overtuned, definitely I'll play her to abuse her, because who wouldn't? But yeah, don't hate me for saying that, but that's kind of where the thread encouraged me to go. Just it's one of those champions that Riot kind of has to rework from the ground up, but they're probably not going to, because she's definitely playable, just exceedingly weak in comparison. and in terms of balance. But yeah, she's a very low priority. But either way, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you weren't too angry at the title or what I said in the video. And hopefully you weren't too upset to give me a like and a subscribe if you haven't yet. And click that bell up there to get notifications for any future videos. Don't worry, not all of them will be hatred or judgmental videos like this one.